welcome to our live show. Today we are talking about A24 films. So if you're a fan or not a fan, speak up in the comments and we'll interact. We'll talk about several titles today and we'll explain how this contest or this poll works. Right now I'm going to throw up a quick screenshot of what you'll see when you go to the website. This is what you see when you go to madmonster.com. And it's pretty self-explanatory. You just vote for the films that you think are the top and the films that you think are the bottom. And I'll display the website right there. It should pop up on your page.
Yeah, we should mention this is not every single A24 movie. It's just, we've taken a poll and we've picked kind of the top ones to do a vote on. So there's probably a few out there that, you guys are excited about as well. So, definitely go ahead and give them a mention if they're your favorite.
Hit it up. And of course, as always, Scott Monster Perry saying hello. Hello, Scott. Thanks for joining. Please engage. Tell us which movies you love and which ones you hate and why.
So yeah, Gina, first up, what is your choice?
I have to say, first impression, I really went to see Midsummer in theater expecting not to like it. But as I watched, I just really could appreciate how unique the movie, how well the cinematography, the subtle graphic effects, everything about it. It's one of those movies that you could watch multiple times and see things that you didn't see the previous time. And I can respect a movie like that. You just don't tire. It's also a great movie to show someone who's never seen it, so you can see their reactions. So that's where I think it just started climbing the list for me, because it's just so out there. What about you?
Well, you and I are on the same page with that, yeah, because I thought Midsummer was a pretty remarkable film. It just, like you said, it's totally unique. It rewards with extra viewings. And it's one of the few movies, it can't really be classified as a horror movie, I guess. I mean, I think the director describes it as a breakup movie, a kind of surrealist breakup movie. But it's definitely got very horrific elements in it.
It's got that cult vibe. It's got that foreign culture. Makes you question if this is a real thing, if you've never traveled outside the country. I think, it kind of also falls in the category of when you watch religious films, it makes you think, that mentality.
Yeah, and it's exactly that. It has no supernatural elements. So, it could be real, and I think that's what is so special and stand out about it.
A quick hello to Joe and Zoe.
Joe and Zoe, how you doing?
And Scott replies that Hereditary and The Witch, those are your tops?
So I think at the moment, top of the poll is Hereditary. I think it's winning, and I think it's out there in front. So, if you're passionate about one of the other ones on the list, make sure you vote for it, because your vote will be counted and you will be heard.
Midsummer does take multiple viewings to absorb it. It's a very layered movie. Sometimes you have to have someone point out, and you brought something to light today in your Instagram stories that I didn't even catch when I was watching it. I think I've seen it 3 times total so far. Let me bring up these pictures. So you sent 3, one of the tapestry, which was great, because that was one of those moments where if you were watching in a theater, the reactions were just so good.
I mean, that's the first shot of the movie, and it gives you the whole movie right there. It tells you the whole tale of the film right there in the first shot, and it's pretty interesting when you're able to get a screen grab of it and look deeply into what's happening there.
The more PG of the tapestries, because I know the one I'm talking about is the love.
Yes.
Bell one where it pans across and you see some pretty interesting imagery. But yeah, you're right. This is great because as you look and if you've seen the movie, you can just see how it's mapped out, how everything just unfolds right here in this image.
And we should try and be careful, I guess, with spoilers for people who haven't seen it. But it's definitely recommended. I mean, for me, it's up there as one of the best horror films of the last decade. If you're going to classify it as a horror movie, but this is the shot we're talking about. And if you look closely there in the trees, um, it's not a spoiler to tell you at the start of the film, the main character, her sister, um, uh, dies. It's pretty tragic. And that apparently is an image of her sister's face, which is displayed in the trees there. And yeah, when you see those sort of nuances, and they're not promoted at all, they're just there, and people find them as kind of an Easter egg, then you know that the director's doing something kind of special.
It makes you wonder like how much we still haven't seen. That's how layered this movie feels. So it's worth a watch. If you saw it in theater, it's worth a private viewing in home because I've had experiences in the theater where it kind of affects the mood of the movie, the crowd does, which can be a positive thing and a negative thing. And we were just speaking about that earlier, where I had a negative theater experience with Hereditary, which ruined the movie for me. And it wasn't until I went to rewatch it again at home that I could really appreciate the acting and really appreciate the whole mood that was set in the film. Now, I didn't necessarily agree with the ending or like how it ended, but it had a lot of great horror movie moments. The tension, the escalation, the even leaving things out, leaving it up to your imagination because it really didn't explain things.
Yeah, I like to talk about the shadow work in films. So it's the stuff that you don't see, the stuff that's in the shadows. Um, that it plays tricks with your mind, and Hereditary does that expertly,
Mm-hmm.
more so than many films. And I look on so my experience with Hereditary is probably similar to yours. I was in there with opening night with a bunch of teenagers who weren't getting it, but there are certain moments in the film where there was audible gasps, and they held their breath. And the end of the film, I thought, was just it was a pressure release. It's a crazy ending for those of you that have seen it, but I think they had to give that because up until that point it was so intense, such an intense ride.
I'm trying to think of where these are streaming because there's so many platforms, and that's part of my big problem right now. I think it's on Prime. If it's not on Prime, it's on Hulu.
Hereditary, I believe, has popped up on Hulu recently. Other than that, you'd probably be able to get it through, via Apple Movies.
Yeah, I think if it's on Prime, it could be on Prime regular, but I also have my HBO and my Showtime channels through Prime, so I get confused because it could be on one of those premium channels as well. But it's out there, so it's worth looking into. If you've seen everything that's already out, give it a watch.
I'm just going to look up now to make sure it is. Oh yeah, Prime, absolutely.
Yeah.
Prime is where you find it, and I think Midsummer's also on Prime as well.
There's quite a few other A24 movies. If you guys want to participate in the poll and haven't seen all the ones on the list, I found quite a bit of them on Netflix.
We've got a few more people joining us. Amanda's joining us. Andrew's joining us. Zoe, how are you guys all doing?
Hello, Amanda, and you're welcome, Andrew. Watch it, participate in the poll, give us some feedback.
I think A24 is a really interesting company because they only kind of made a splash in 2013. And initially they were making movies like Spring Breakers. I'm not sure if you saw that one. It's
yes.
Selena Gomez and James Franco playing a really crazy role. And The Bling Ring with Emma Watson. So they were kind of these teenage rebellion movies. And it was in 2015 that they released The Witch. And I think The Witch was a massive turning point for the current trend in these highbrow horror films.
That's perfect. Yeah, they're definitely highbrow. They're very artsy. If you're not If that's not your type of horror, then you're not going to like them. It's kind of a polarized, you love it or hate it. I don't really meet too many people that are in the middle. They're like, it's either I hate it, not a fan, or I love them. They're great. Like indie, if you like indie vibe films, it seems like that's your niche.
Yeah, in England we've got this. It's a yeast extract that you put on toast. It's called Marmite, and the whole advertising campaign for Marmite is you either love it or you hate it. So they're the kind of Marmite for genre fans.
Yeah.
But I'm not even sure The Witch would have been so recognized if it hadn't been for The Babadook, which was a year before. And The Babadook wasn't an A24 film; it was an Australian film. But that really kind of kicked the genre into a new realm where it's starting to get taken seriously again.
Hi, Jenny.
Jenny.
Jenny. Hello, Lewis. Thanks for joining. Please participate. Let us know which A24 films you love or hate. We'll talk about either or. Hello, Amanda. Speaking of movie theater experiences, I felt like I would have enjoyed The Witch more in a dark theater environment as opposed to watching at home. I did see The Witch in theater. I left disappointed only because I felt like it was miscategorized. I thought I was expecting so much more with the title The Witch. I wanted to see a witch. I wanted to see, all kinds of magic or dark arts or, more of that. It seems when I watched it, the goat kind of stole the spotlight. It was like, should have probably been called the Black Phillip or the goat or something like that.
There was a very sexy witch in there at one point, wasn't there? I remember near the start of the film.
Horror, you want to see a haggard witch. You want to see an old lady that just looks crazy like this.
Yeah.
It definitely hit me more like a period piece movie.
Yeah, and Robert Eggers, the director, from what I've heard, he took transcripts from the time and just turned them into the script. So all those words were spoken by people at some point in time. So the attention to detail in The Witch is incredible. And that's what really blew me away when I first saw it. I saw it in a movie theater. I think I was one of like 4 people in there. And I wasn't disappointed. I really enjoyed it. And I remember coming out thinking the game's changed a little bit. But I do know at the time there's a lot of kickback because in this day and age, things become so overhyped, and they can't possibly live up to those hypes. So people would go into a movie like The Witch expecting, like you were saying, to see a haggard old witch at some point in the film. When they're not given that, they're probably going to be disappointed.
Torture. You want to see at the end, does the witch overcome, or do they defeat her? Do they burn her at the stake? Like, those are all the things that I was bracing myself for with a title like this. And it was a very slow burn movie. I'm sure if I gave it another shot and watched it at home, like I did with Hereditary, I might grow to love it. It might grow on me. Because again, you're right. This was the first film that they released like this. So I was not expecting that. I was not prepared. And maybe it might take a while for me to adapt a taste for it.
I think it's better on a second viewing, to be honest with you. I watched it with my brother-in-law and my wife. My wife doesn't really do horror movies, but when she saw it, even she was captivated by it. So maybe it is a case that it's not, the type of movies that aren't being made just for genre fans.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. You hit the nail on the head talking about expectations, and I think that's what happened. There's this expectations were there. You watch it, and you're like, whoa, that was out of the ballpark. That, like, not even in any realm that I was expecting as far as a movie. And then when I went to rewatch the trailer recently, I guess I watched a trailer that was developed just for Black Phillip, where they're singing this song. And it's like, Black Phillip, like, and it was like true. And like the movie, Black Phillip really did stand out in the movie. Like, that seemed to be what everybody loved in the movie. You would never even know there was a witch involved, just a goat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Anna Taylor-Joy, who plays like the central character in the film, she becomes the witch at the end of the movie. And, she's got a big career ahead of her. She's just about to star in Edgar Wright's new movie, which is called Last Night in Soho. Which I think it was due for release at the end of the year, but I think it's been pushed now because of COVID. But she's pretty remarkable in it. And the movie was shot. It was shot for $4 million, and it made over 40 million. So I mean,
Those are
That's
some
very impressive.
numbers, yeah. And
Yeah.
Amanda says, I think I was expecting something more like what we saw in Gretel and Hansel. It's true. It's true.
I haven't seen Gretel and Hansel. Is this the recent one that came out? Was it this year?
I'm not sure which one she's referring to. If you're still here, let us know which one you're referring to. In the meantime, oh wait.
So yeah, it was after The Witch that Hereditary came along, and you know, the Witch changed the game, but I think Hereditary, you know, gave a new set of rules with what you can do within the genre, and
that The Witch set the standard, easily the best one. So there's another one for The Witch.
Hunter, yeah. I mean, I'm not disputing it's a great movie, but I think what Ari Aster's doing, the director of Hereditary and Midsummer, he's just working on a next level. Because Robert Eggers, who did The Witch, his follow-up was The Lighthouse, another A24 film, and it's a very unusual, artistic, kind of black comedy. It's not a horror movie. It's
yeah, you're right.
It's a very surreal black comedy. I mean, William Dafoe absolutely deserved an Oscar for that film. I mean,
for the accent alone, to me, it made no sense why he was speaking like a pirate, and then Pattinson, I couldn't quite put my finger on what accent he was trying to do, or what, as I'm just listening, the scene that made the movie worth watching to me was almost near the end, where he loses it on Willem Dafoe and just starts just like having this tantrum, and just the way he was saying the words, I was losing it. And like, this is just insanity. This is just like someone's fever dream in black and white,
I rarely laugh out loud at movies, but The Lighthouse had several moments where I was laughing out loud on my own in the cinema, like a madman. But yeah, I think they're speaking nautical, aren't they? Kind of maritime language, whatever that is. But it's
watching a pirate movie.
Yeah.
But it's Willem Dafoe, so it was a good role for him, I suppose, because he nailed it. Whatever it was, they were trying to depict in the movie, but.
Well, essentially, it's a movie about isolation, isn't it? It's about,
the other part I was having a hard time is like, why is this guy losing it? 4 weeks really isn't that bad. He's acting like they're there for a year, like shipwrecked for a year. He's just losing it, like 4 weeks.
It's actually not that long, is it? Yeah, when you think about it.
I've done, some people you can go on a holiday for that long and it doesn't feel like that, Coming off of a boat to an island, I was just not getting it. And I had to start thinking, like, maybe it's a presence, maybe it's an energy that's messing with him. Maybe it's Willem Dafoe's company, because it would be rather hard just to be stuck with someone like that, a character like that kind of escalated his agitation. But he was a very agitated character.
I think it's probably Willem Dafoe's flatulence and...
these birds. He really had it out for them birds.
He certainly did. Amanda just clarified, yeah, so 2019, just last year, that was the Gretel and Hansel movie, which I didn't see, but I did see posters for it, and I saw some of the promotional campaigns, and I was intrigued to check it out. It was kind of a retelling of the Hans Christian Andersen fable of Hansel and Gretel, which looked interesting.
Going back to Hereditary, when I was looking through images, I don't know if you remember this scene, but I was looking at his face, like with the makeup and what they did. It kind of, made me think, were they trying to make them look similar with like this her inside of him?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I never even thought of that.
I started looking at these images, but the way they did his lip and his face was swelling. I was like, I wonder what was going on here. If she was like an apparition or a spirit or something like that.
And that's Alex Wolff there. I mean, he gives a really extraordinary performance in that film. He has a lot of hard work to do.
And I can't think of her name right now. You probably know the actress who played the mom.
Oh, Toni Collette. Yeah.
She really nailed all of those emotional performances. It makes it
Yeah, and even Gabriel Byrne, who's who plays the dad in it. It's a really kind of subtle, nuanced performance, but he holds that movie together. Um, it was a tough call for me to pick between Hereditary and Midsummer because I was blown away by both of them. But I do, for me personally, I think they have the edge over Robert Eggers and The Witch, even though Robert Eggers is responsible for kind of starting this whole trend of highbrow horror, which is, A24 are kind of exceptional at doing.
that is, they're definitely carving out a subgenre, I feel, of their own.
Mm.
Like, 80s was like the age of slasher, and then, it evolved, and then people started having a taste for the paranormal, and then you had psychological thrillers. I think this is their own little niche that they're carving out. And for those of you tuning in or just coming in, this is what it looks like when you go to madmonster.com. If you want to participate in the A24 poll and let us know what are your favorite and what are your least favorite A24 horror films are, just go to madmonster.com and it should be right there on the home page.
So the plan is over the course of this month, we're going to be facing A24 off against Blumhouse, who is the other massive horror production company, and we're going to almost like old school WWF wrestling. We want the fans to pick their favorites, and eventually we'll have a few movies there in a kind of top 5 list that can face off each other. And we want to encourage debate, and we want all these all fans and everything to get involved and tell us what they think of these films. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting month, especially Blumhouse have an incredible catalog of horror movies, and I know they've got a very loyal fan base as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays off against the A24.
When this was brought to light and I started looking down the list, in the beginning I'm like, sure, this will be easy. I feel like I watched them all, because like I said, most A24 films I saw in theater as they came out. But then because the category was 5 top, 5 bottom, I didn't have enough. But Blumhouse, I had no problem. I'd watched so many of those films because their catalog is bigger. So it makes sense. Like they've definitely been putting out, and I don't know, they're like machines, because I don't know if you've been watching, but they put out these little Hulu exclusive films each month, usually themed with whatever holiday is in the month, like Valentine's Day or Father's Day. They get very specific with the film. I'm like, how are they putting out all these films, plus releasing feature films in theater on top of whatever projects that they're working on? They have to have quite a team.
Yeah, and they're just very creative, and I think they shoot things cheaply and they bang them out. So I don't think Ari Aster, the director of Hereditary and Midsummer, or Robert Eggers even, I don't think they would work so well within that business model, because it seems that they spend a lot more time fleshing out their movies and through costume design, set design, and everything else. They really want their movies to build worlds, whereas I think Blumhouse have strong concepts that they just like to bash out as quickly as possible, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, I'm not sure at the moment who has the edge for me, but I'm sure over the next month we're gonna expose some of these movies.
I mean, it's great because it made me comb through both companies' catalogs and realize I've missed quite a few. And so, like homework, I'm doing all I can to catch up. And Robert here says, "Life After Beth." I'm guessing this emoji means he enjoys it.
I think that's the high five emoji, or the,
yeah, I'm not an emoji one, but I think that's like a praise. Like, yeah, like I'll take it for that. And then Amanda agrees. That's Life After Beth. I haven't watched Life After Beth. Have you?
No, I haven't seen that one. Is it Aubrey Plaza? She's in that, I believe. But I mean, you recently saw Killing of a Sacred Deer, right?
I did. Because it was like down to 2 more slots to fill in my top and bottom. So the last two that I watched, both on Netflix, was Killing of a Sacred Deer and Blackcoat's Daughter. So here we have The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I had no expectations, knew nothing about what it was about. I just saw it had a very heavy cast list. Nicole Kidman, Colin Farrell, Alicia Silverstone. So I gave it a watch, and I ended up enjoying it. Not as a horror film, more psychological. And I'm a sucker for a good dialogue, and this movie has that. Just listening to them speak was entertaining enough because it's just no one talks like that in real life.
Yeah. Well, the director as well. He directed the one with Olivia Colman, which won the awards last year, The Favourite, and he also did a movie called The Lobster, and I think he was responsible for It Comes at Night as well, which was quite a popular one. He's Yorgos Lanthimos. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation,
What a
but
name!
he's a very interesting director, and his scripts are totally kind of unique. Have you seen The Lobster?
I saw The Lobster. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's such a bizarre film.
This character right here, I mean, he definitely carries the movie because it's just his composure, how he speaks. You're waiting for something to happen. You want to know the backstory. You want to know what's going on with this kid, and they kind of leave that up for you to decide because they really don't explain or overly explain what's going on. You're just along for the ride. You're just as clueless as the other characters in the movie, which would be Colin Farrell as the surgeon.
And you know something's going to happen as well. It's that sense of this foreboding atmosphere that it builds up so well. Yeah, I mean, it's again, I don't know if I can classify that as a kind of a horror movie. It's it's
Yeah, it definitely felt more psychological.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I think that's what's so great about A24 is they're trying to step outside the box. They're not putting themselves in boxes, and it's hard to describe. It's hard to place them. They don't kind of fit in any category when you really think about it. So this could work to their advantage, and it can be their disadvantage if someone like me who's walking in to see The Witch and leaves going, "What did I just watch?" Because that didn't feel like a horror movie at all. But
yeah, it also seems that they're recognizing new talent and that they're getting behind new talent, and that's exciting because I think most of the time you go to the movie theater, you're watching people who are established, or you're watching somebody who's made one good film and then has immediately been thrown into the studio system. But A24 seem to really be taking in that new talent and giving it what it needs to flourish, and that's exciting.
That's great because it's one of my biggest gripes that I've had over the years is you just start noticing that studios and directors, they're relying too heavily on the cast and not on the movie. And to me, growing up as a kid in the 80s, watching horror movies was about watching the unknown actors. You're not going to watch a horror movie and see an A-list actor. It just didn't make any sense to me when I started seeing them in horror movies. It's almost like that's where A-list actors are made. They start off in horror movies and they go from there. Like that's the catalyst for their career. And they have nothing to lose. So they put everything they got into the movie. And it's just not appealing.
Well, it takes you out of the movie immediately, doesn't it? If you're watching, Chris Hemsworth, for example, you're thinking, oh, I'm watching Thor in Cabin in the Woods, and even though that was a good film and it was a fun kind of genre mashup, it's still when you have people of that sort of scale and standard. That's why horror movies are always kind of championed unknown actors, and that's why I think A24 are most exciting. That's where they are most exciting. Whereas
reaction watching Cabin in the Woods because it took me probably 30 minutes to stop seeing Thor and actually seeing him as the character he's playing in the movie. So
Yeah, and then when you just after you get over that, Ripley shows up at the end of the film. You're like, oh,
yeah,
Ripley's here. So yeah, it's a testament to A24 and Blumhouse to some extent do have a similar mandate, I guess, with their unknowns. They really do kind of work with unknowns, and apart from like The Conjuring, for example, Patrick Wilson and Vera Fatsamaga, I can never pronounce the name properly. But I think that was the movie that really kind of put them on the A-list map. They had done movies prior to that were acclaimed, but the Conjuring was the movie that kind of made them commercial stars.
It's true. I'd like to see it go back to that, because I feel like if it's a formula that works, why change it? Let the movie sell itself. Stop relying so heavily on the actors. It's like brand names. You have that. If you don't have the confidence that the movie will sell itself, and you have to rely on these actors' names to be on the billboard, then there's a problem.
Well, as you mentioned earlier on, you love dialogue, and a movie success will always begin and end with a script, with a screenplay, and it's the actor's responsibility to bring that to life. And so, diverting slightly from A24 and going back to Blumhouse, they did something very clever with Sinister, and they took an established actor like Ethan Hawke, who's very good friends with Jason Blum. They had I think a theater company together in New York, and Jason Blum convinced Ethan Hawke to star in Sinister. And Sinister for me was a really, really good film. And it's partly because you had somebody of his caliber at the helm, and not for one moment was I there thinking it's Ethan Hawke that I'm watching. I invested in his character, and I think that's what a good actor, like a really good actor, and there's only a handful of them out there, but really good actors transcend themselves, to allow you to believe in whatever character they're portraying.
Jenny's asking if we got to discussing Tusk yet. No, we haven't. It is a messed up movie. Being a Kevin Smith fan, I've watched this movie over the past 20 years, and when he made Red State, that really threw me for a loop, and I really enjoyed that movie because it was one of those that could be applicable to real life. It was very similar to the Waco scenario. And so when he was promoting Tusk, I was thinking, okay, we already know that he is capable of making a horror movie. Let's see what this one's about. And that was everything that I never expected in a movie with Johnny Depp and Justin Long. Did you see it?
Johnny Depp's daughter's in it as well, wasn't she?
Because I know that she's in that A to Z one, the one about yoga hosers.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm probably thinking of yoga hosers. Yeah,
she's in it with Kevin Smith's daughter Harley. They're like clerks or something. But the Tusk, I think I can't remember what year that came out.
Is it 2016 around that point? Let's have a little look.
Yeah, let's get our facts. But yeah, it was disturbing. It's definitely a
2014.
It was made to disturb. I don't think it was made to even make sense. It was just made to disturb. Like, not at all applicable to real life, but crazy stuff happened. That one actually made it to my bottom list because I know its potential, I think. I could not watch this movie without thinking, what happened? Red State was so good. And it was like, when it came out, you heard a little bit about it and you never heard about it again. It just kind of went underground. And I feel like maybe he was successful with Tusk because people still kind of talk about it. It might be the butt of a joke, but people are still talking about it.
Yeah, I never actually saw Tusk. It's the walrus one, right?
Yeah.
Kevin Smith, for me, I mean, he's. I didn't love Red State, I gotta say, but again, it might be one of those things that's worth a revisit because sometimes the circumstances of the movie-going experience can let you down. I mean, I watched The Matrix and hated it for the first time when I was in the movie theater, and it's because about a quarter of an hour into the film, I picked up a soda, and it just exploded all over me.
Well,
So I'm
no,
sat there drenched in soda and hating myself and hating the circumstance, and I couldn't concentrate on the movie. So I don't think, maybe I was a little bit drunk when I saw Red State. I think I probably was.
I think another thing is like relatability, and because I live in a bipolar state politically, there's a lot of red state like characteristics about Florida, and the cult and the religious vibes and all that. Like I could totally relate, because that stuff is kind of scary to me, because it feels like that is real. That is real stuff that can really go down. So if you haven't like experienced it firsthand, it might just seem a little boring or a little like hard to relate to or understand. So that's another thing that might make someone not appreciate it as much. For me, it was like watching something that could happen in Florida, like legitimately. And
Yeah,
right now as we speak is crazy times. You know, maybe watching it now as you've endured living in the States, current times politically, you might feel like, oh yeah, this is hitting it. This is hitting
I think sometimes I underestimate how much Americans love their firearms.
Oh yeah.
Like, truly love their firearms. So yeah, maybe that was the thing that wasn't clicking for me at that point in time. But yeah, I might give it a rewatch based on this discussion, actually, because I'd be intrigued to watch it again.
Amanda says, watch Tusk once, that's enough. In my bottom 5 as well. Yeah, one will do you. Don't need to watch it again. Tusk, bunch of zipper mouth emojis, right there with you. Just what can you really say about that?
There's another pretty interesting one to talk about from A24, is called In Fabric. Have you seen this one?
I have not.
It's quite interesting. It came out of it's a British film, and it's essentially about a haunted dress that's sold to a woman. For witches sell her this dress, and I saw that recently, and I was pretty captivated by it. It was again unique. I can't think of anything else like it. It has a bit of an identity crisis, but again, I think it's one of those films that on a rewatch is going to reveal some more of its secrets, and that I think is fundamentally what's so great about A24, is their movies have such great rewatch value. So even if you didn't like it the first time around, you watch it again, you're going to start to maybe notice new things, and just maybe something will click with you on a second viewing. I don't know if Blumhouse has that same effect. I don't know if the rewatch value of Blumhouse movies is as strong as A24's.
Now that you've brought it up, I'm trying to think if there's anything that comes to the forefront for me, as opposed to like just watching things in the background, because I have a tendency of doing that when I don't have the mental capacity to pay attention to things. I just throw something on in the background. And I find it like if I'm in that kind of mood, I can do that with the Purge series, and that doesn't really like, bore me. But yeah, I can't think of any other Blumhouse films where like, yeah, I want to watch that again.
I mean, I think Get Out might be the one that has, most rewatch value. But yeah, movies like Sinister, for example, was a movie I loved when I first saw it, but I'm in no rush to rewatch that, because it was a pretty. Why do I think so? It was a hard watch. It was grim. It's a really grim film, and Hereditary is a grim film, and so is Midsommar, but they are shot so beautifully, and they have the kind of commercial edge over Sinister in particular, for me, where they have that. It's just a watchability factor.
Amanda says she appreciates that A24 films are not instantly predictable like a lot of horror thrillers are. This is something they do have going for them. And it's interesting when you get in, because I usually kind of like pride myself in knowing by a trailer whether the movie is watch worthy for me or not. Because trailers are the worst nowadays. They kind of show you everything. That's worth watching. And you were like, well, I pretty much just got the whole rundown, and I don't really need to see the movie in its entirety. One of those misleading ones was Get Out for me, because when you watch the trailer, I was intrigued. I'm a Jordan Peele fan. I wanted to watch. I knew I was going to watch it in theater, and I did watch it in theater. It wasn't anything what I was expecting, and I think that's what he was going for. We were, watching, and like, this is going to be that typical racial-driven topic, but he kind of flipped it on us. It was still about race, but not as we were expecting. And I had to persuade a few of my friends to watch it, because at first they weren't interested. They didn't want to watch a racially driven horror movie, because they felt like, yeah, I already know what's going to happen. Like, no, you need to watch this, because you're not going to know. When the twist is revealed, you're going to go, wow, that was creative, and I was not expecting that.
They pull the carpet out from under you, don't they? And that's what great movie directors do. You know, they understand showmanship, and they understand it's all about not giving the audience everything.
Hunter actually likes Tusk. So
we're getting Tusk is proving to be quite a controversial movie. People want to talk about this film. I'm gonna have to check it out now.
Yeah. I mean, I will look forward to hearing your reactions, because you've already heard mine. So now you have to go and kind of formulate your own opinion based on watching it.
So, what is your least favorite A24 film?
Oh, The Lighthouse took the front runner. As I was like, this movie, I don't even know what to think about this movie. Cinematography, I understand. Like, I was even told that that a camera was bought to like replicate the authenticity of the time period, which I'm like, that's great and all, but not if no one wants to rewatch this movie. I don't even know what I just watched. And like I said, it felt like a fever dream. You're just watching a fever dream just drag on. And I love dialogue-heavy movies. I love isolation movies. When quarantine first started, I think I went down the list of movies about isolation. And like I Am Legend, 28 Days Later. What was the one we were talking about earlier? It Comes at Night.
Uh-huh.
It brought me to watch that, which is on my top. I really enjoyed It Comes at Night. And again, it's not a very exciting, very climactic movie. It doesn't even really explain what's going on. It leaves a lot to imagination. So I was like, there's something about The Lighthouse that just doesn't sit with me. It doesn't resonate. Maybe it's not the nautical theme. Maybe it's because I'm just not into that.
Did you see it on the big screen?
I did not see that one. I missed that one. I saw it at home.
I think it's one of those ones that benefits from a big screen screening, because you're locked in then. It's easy to get distracted at home. So
you may be right, but it might have been another one of those ruined by the audience movies, because there might have been a whole slew of people that were in the same boat as me, like, what is going on? What did I come in to watch? Am I in the right theater?
Well, Amanda certainly agrees with you. She wasn't impressed by The Lighthouse either.
Isabella has something else to add with Tusk. This Tusk could have been amazing if they cut the slapstick and played it straight all the way through. The cameo hurt more than it helped, and I need to dismiss the ending as a dream sequence for it to be plausible at all. I do like it overall, just a missed opportunity. Absolutely right. I think that there was a lot of like misdirection and just unnecessary fluff in the movie. It could have been darker. It could have been more ethereal or horror-esque. And it did, it's like a Scooby-Doo ending.
I think Kevin Smith has been going down that kind of route for a while, though, hasn't he?
Well, I guess once you do it, you don't want to typecast yourself. When Red State was released, a lot of people rejected it because they were expecting another Jay and Silent Bob. Like, you can't expect this guy to do, dick and fart jokes the rest of his life. At some point, as a filmmaker, he's going to want to stretch his, creative muscle, and do something outside of his normal genre, which I appreciated. So I won't ding him for it. I just have to wonder, what was the creative process to have been at that screen table while they're reading the script and see people's reactions of how ridiculous this movie goes. And again, another fan. Tusk is fun. Daniel.
Well, that's it then. I mean, Dan said Tusk is fun. I have to watch it now. So I'm going to make it my point this week to sit through Tusk at some point. And
Robert throws it back. Daniel, you think funerals are fun? Of course you would like Tusk. Getting a little rowdy in the comments here. Scott made it 15 minutes into the lighthouse, but he intends to give it another shot.
And it's worth mentioning as well, there are a few A24 movies that didn't make the grade. One of them is a movie called Under the Skin, which I know you haven't seen, Gina, because we discussed it before. But this movie is pretty fascinating. It's Scarlett Johansson. It's all set in Scotland, and she's playing an alien who seduces Scottish men and then kills them. It's a pretty interesting film, and it's a notable mention, and a ghost story as well. Casey Affleck.
Streaming anywhere? I might have to look it up.
Yeah, I might be on Netflix actually. I'm not sure. So have a look. But a ghost story as well with Casey Affleck was it was very artistic. It's not for everyone, but it was an interesting little film that it was quite emotional actually. I thought it was decent. It was a decent stab at a kind of a well-known story.
Hunter makes an excellent observation. It's a C6 Step Brothers for Lighthouse, I'm guessing. Just two dudes stranding on a lighthouse island.
C6 Brothers. That works for me. I mean, they should have had that on the poster, Hunter.
Lighthouse was a Jacob's Ladder thing.
Jacob's Ladder. Oh my gosh, that's a crazy movie. Adrian Lyne. Yeah.
And Scott seemed to have seen Under My Skin, that it was a good one. Definitely has to go on my list of things to watch. And Dan hits back with that he was a huge fan of Kevin Smith's movies for a long time. I enjoyed all of them except for the last one. I could only get 20 minutes into that Jane Silent Bob reboot. Had to turn it off. I was so bored. I don't think the movie was boring. I just thought it was really hard to watch these people that you've grown over the past 20 years look old on screen. Like, I couldn't stop staring at Jay's teeth. And, in every cameo that popped in, like, wow, they've aged horribly, or they're much older. This is crazy. Like, it just made me depressed because then I'm like, I'm old. If these guys are getting older, then it was like a little bit of a reality check. But
we're all getting older, Gina, by the second.
There's no preventing that. I wake up every day.
No preventing it.
One day.
And looking at the list here, another one we haven't described, which I know a lot of people are passionate about, is Green Room.
Green Room. I saw this in theater as well. And
yeah, so did I.
I was entertained. It felt like it came out during a year when there was a lot of skinhead, neo-Nazi themed movies. This one just kind of hit different, and it was definitely not disappointing in the violence category. It got very graphic and intense. It was a very tense movie, I should say.
Yeah, for me, I liked it. I didn't love it. I felt it was miscast, even though Anton Yelchin, it was one of his last films actually before he tragically died.
Yeah.
Even though he was excellent in it, I felt the surrounding cast, it didn't work for me, and that's including Patrick Stewart. And initially when I heard about it, Patrick Stewart playing that role, I was all in. I was like, yes, I want to see this. But he didn't hit, I guess, the tone that I was expecting. Again, it's all about expectations, because there was a lot of hype around that film as well when it was first released. So it didn't do it for me, but I know so many people are absolutely passionate about that film.
I think it was a well done film. I mean, I was a big fan when American History X was released. I had never really watched anything that dared to go that deep For Edward Norton to take a role like that, it had to have been a gamble, a roll of the dice, if this was going to be received well or not, to play a role like that. And so when I saw Patrick Stewart attached to this project, I thought the same thing. Someone of his stature, his legacy, to put his name on a title like this, maybe not have been a wise decision in this day and age of what kind of times are going on. But when this movie was released, it kind of fit, because like I said, so many other studios were putting out their own films. Elijah Wood was in one, I believe. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, Elijah Wood did a British movie called Green Street, or Green Street Hooligans, and that's kind of about football violence, skinhead football violence type film. Daniel Radcliffe, I believe, did one as well, where he plays like a neo-Nazi who goes undercover neo-Nazi. So yeah, it's certainly where I think that was like 2016 Green Room. So it was it seemed to be a trend around that point to be.
Funny how that works. You see everybody just biting each other. It's like, how do they know when they're putting out these movies? Their theme, like when you had like the vampire boom, then it was the zombie boom, and Universal Monsters. Like, it's like, how do they know to produce these at the same time?
Well, it's interesting because I think a lot of these scripts get shopped around different studios, and what inevitably ends up happening is the studios decline and they say no, and then they hear that another studio is going to be producing it. Then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, we passed on that, but we can't allow them to get away with." So it becomes a kind of competitive thing, and that's why you get movies being released at the same time with very similar genres.
There's going to be some balls working behind these studios going, so and so greenlit this script. Oh, let's find something similar to it, because if they're doing that, and if it does well, then we'll have one in the pocket ready to go.
And sometimes it's just out of spite as well. They get upset because they passed on it, and they're hearing good buzz about it, because everybody knows each other in this industry, and they don't want to be the one who passed on it, so they come up with their own kind of version.
Going to touch upon again for anybody who joined us. You can go to madmonster.com, participate in the poll that's going on all month long, I believe, and we'll be covering A24 films for a week, and then Blumhouse films the next week, and then it'll be an all-out brawl on who is better.
An all-out brawl.
Just let it all out. Can't bring your feelings to this.
I think we've spoken about most of the A24 films.
I think so, because again, it's kind of extensive catalog, the horror side.
They do, yeah. Another one we haven't mentioned is Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal.
I see it pop up on one of my stream applications, and I haven't watched it yet.
It's really interesting. It's again, it's kind of difficult to classify what genre it's working in, but Jake Gyllenhaal just worked with Denis Villeneuve on Prisoners with Hugh Jackman, which I thought was a great movie. Terrence Howard's in it as well, and they enjoyed the experience working together so much that they went ahead and made Enemy, and it's so underrated. And Denis Villeneuve is one of the kind of hottest properties at the moment. He did Blade Runner 2049. Well, is it 2049? Is that the correct title?
It's almost like I have dyslexia. And but I know what you're talking about.
The recent Blade Runner movie, and he's Dune. He's done the big budget version of Dune, which was expected around now, I think. But I think
with Chalamet in it, the new one that he's redoing.
Timothée Chalamet and I think Jason Momoa is in it, and yeah, it's going to be a massive sci-fi extravaganza. And he's also responsible for Arrival, which is one of my favorite science fiction films of the last decade as well. So yeah, Enemy is definitely worth a look. It's not getting a lot of love on the polls, as far as I can see, but it's
let's change that. Let's boost it up. Tell people.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have seen it. And Jake Gyllenhaal's a popular guy. I think Enemy is available on Netflix at the moment. Yeah, I believe it is.
Let's hear more people talk about it. Those who are watching, feel free to speak up, talk about your favorite or most hated A24 films while you can. You can speak now or forever hold your peace. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's on
WWF
Netflix.
styles. Just think outlandish.
Romper Stomper for the win. It's Russell Crowe's first movie. I think it's his first film. That's a pretty insane film as well. Romper Stomper. The Monster. So a lot of people like this film. Amanda's actually highlighting The Monster. Um, I didn't dislike it, but I certainly didn't like it. It wasn't ticking all the boxes for me. I saw what they were trying to do, and I think that's why I disliked it on my initial viewing. But I did think at the time it's worth a rewatch, and I probably will go back to it one day. So yeah, it's interesting that that's cropping up now, because at the time I remember thinking there's something about this film that is going to stick with me, I think.
Yeah, I have to check that out as well. Again, going through these catalogs, I'm sitting here thinking, nah, I'm pretty current, and now I'm realizing there's a lot of holes, and what I've seen and what I haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of movies out there to watch, right?
You're sitting here thinking you're flipping through all of these. I mean, we have endless amounts of ways to watch things, and just flipping through like there's nothing to watch. But that's an over exaggeration, right? Because obviously, this is proving that there are plenty of things we have missed.
Oh, spoiler alert, Amanda.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I don't know what's going on. I just saw the Mother, which I thought she was talking about Mother with.
Oh my, that's a whole different discussion with Jennifer Lawrence and.
Yeah, I haven't watched it
Aaron
yet
Austin.
because I just heard so many things from people about how tense and what all these ways of describing that. Well, for right now, I'm really kind of overwhelmed with real life. I don't know if I want to watch a movie that makes me feel that way.
Yeah, it's a trip. Without saying too much about it, it's a trip. But I think Amanda's probably for the win there. Like, I've watched 10 of the 14 movies on the A24 list.
So if she's
10
gone
of the 14. So that,
four more, you watched them all.
yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Deleted it, never happened. Yeah, and out of my mind, it didn't even absorb, so no worries there. Hopefully that didn't ruin anybody else's. I had no idea. I'd never seen it, so it's hard to tell if you've never seen something what a spoiler looks like or not. But I don't think it's that imperative whether it will discourage me from watching it, because I still have no idea what it's about, and I need to. Also, we're going to start pushing for everybody to join us on these lives on YouTube. And this is what the YouTube channel looks like. Just go up to that red subscribe box, hit that, and hopefully it'll start pushing some notifications. I know there's a bell you can also hit that will push these notifications to the top, but it would be nice to streamline and put everything in one place. Plus, everything else is archived here. If you've missed some of our live show events, you can watch them here on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, hit subscribe, get involved. I mean, Mad Monster is such an incredible company because it is all about the fans. We work really hard to try and, integrate the fans and their opinions and their ideas. And, that's what we want to see. We want to see the fans getting involved and telling us their opinions, be passionate, fight for your movies. And yeah, at the end of this week, we'll have a pretty interesting poll. At the moment, Hereditary is leading. Let's just make that clear. So if there is a favorite A24 movie that you have that is not doing so well, get your friends involved. Tell your friends, tell your loved ones, tell everybody to get involved and fight for your movie. And, we're going to be doing some more discussions on these films over the course of the week and the month. So, maybe we'll do some deep dives onto specific films as well, where we can, talk about the history of the film, the production, etc.
Yes, and this is great. Keep up with these. We're doing several live shows a week now, and it's no replacement for live events, but it is the next best thing to get everybody as a community together to talk about the things that they're passionate about, which is horror, all things horror. And it's just a great way to interact without having to stand in lines and deal with crowds. And Amanda is sharing that she had the privilege of working at the Mad Monster Halloween store last year. It was a blast. Mad Monster is family. And word is bond. Like, everybody that I've brought into the fold has stayed and has fallen in love with what Mad Monster stands for and what the environment that we create. So this is validation right there. This is great. I did this a lot after watching Hereditary, and those who have seen it know what that is. It's almost as good as after I watched, what was it, The Ring, and it was like 7 days. You can like whisper that to somebody, and if they saw the movie, it would kind of invoke like a scared type of feeling.
Colleague at work was clicking her tongue all the time after seeing Hereditary, and it got so annoying. And I had to tell her, I was just like, you know what, you're ruining the movie for me.
I mean, that's all I had. Like I said, my theater experience wasn't the best, so that was all I walked out was like, that's all you could get from that. I mean, that and a very pivotal scene that I said the best part of the movie happened was because I could picture myself in the brother's position when that event occurred and thinking I probably would have done the same thing. You would just, what would you do? Like, it was just so perfect. Like I said, I can't speak highly enough about the actors and how they pulled off this movie. And even if you don't agree with the plot of the story, you can't deny that these actors really put their all with their acting.
Oh, for sure. And that you summed it up there. That the reaction to that specific moment in the film and the aftermath of it is chilling because it's so real. It's devastatingly real, and very few directors are able to channel that or that are brave enough to put that sort of thing on screen. So that's why I think that Ari Aster, for me, I'm singing his praises till the cows come home. I'm a big fan.
See if anybody else has any last words. We were approaching our hour mark, and I think it was a pretty good. I think we touched all of the movies that will be heavy contenders.
For sure, yeah. And
we went on, Hereditary, Midsummer. This was surprisingly that landed on my top. But yeah, like, quite a diverse yet similar catalog when you're looking at all these posters and recalling all the feelings that you got while watching them.
The Black Coat's Daughter, yeah. So this is one I have not seen, Amanda. Maybe this week I'm going to give that a watch. That and Tusk are going to be on my to watch list.
I recently watched this, and I have to say, my personal opinion, I was not a fan. I thought it was lacking. I felt like I was watching Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the Netflix series, because that's who that is. And then with Emma Roberts, it was like, okay, Sabrina, an American Horror Story. That's all I'm thinking about watching this. It's definitely something you have to pay attention to. It's almost like, a subtitle movie. You have to kind of pay attention to that movie because it jumps timelines.
Okay.
A little bit, but without any like prompting. So you're putting that puzzle together in your head while you're watching it. And once I realized what was going on, I pretty much predicted the ending. So I look forward to hearing what you think about that too. It is on Netflix.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, another Oz Perkins movie. But yeah, I mean, even if you hear that someone doesn't like it, always watch movies to form your own opinion. I'm a big advocate of that. Anytime a movie comes out and a large amount of people tell me, don't watch this, I still watch it because I need to form that opinion myself. Because sometimes I don't agree with the popular opinion.
Yeah.
And I love when I don't. I love championing a movie that was underrated or a very, high on the hated list movie. Had to watch a couple of times. I can see that because, again, keeping with the A24 shtick, it is a layered movie. And there are probably some things that were missed upon my first watch. I just didn't think there was enough of what I wanted to see for a movie of that subject, which is basically like possession.
Love a good possession movie.
I love a possession movie. The Exorcist, amazing, you know. So when you watch it, you'll probably see what I'm talking about without giving anything away.
Well, I might have to watch it twice, by all accounts.
You might have to rewatch because you're like, wait, what happened? What? I missed something, because that's how I felt during times like, wait, I missed something, and I did have to rewind because I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? But that's because it jumps all over the place, timeline.
Interesting. Okay.
It's not even like by years; it's just like by days. It's like this day, the day before, the day after, the day before. Like it's really weird how it's set up. But I didn't hate it as much as The Lighthouse, so I'll give it that. But again, it goes back to what we were touching upon earlier. Well-known actors being in movies can kind of be a distraction, can kind of do the movie a little disservice because you're too busy looking, going, "Yeah, that's that girl that plays that character in that series."
Yeah. Still William Dafoe.
Do you think Willem Dafoe is a method actor? Because in my mind, I'm watching this and thinking, was he talking like a pirate all throughout production, and was he driving people he lives with mad with that? Because
I don't know what he was channeling. There was a point in that film where I was watching. There's a monologue he gives, and I've done a bit of acting myself, and I was watching this and I was thinking, he's so in that role. He's lost in that role, and to get to that place as an actor is pretty extraordinary. So I was really devastated for him that he wasn't recognized for an Academy Award. I know Oscars don't mean anything, but his body of work over the years has been so incredible that he should have been acknowledged, because it's a standout performance in a very strange film.
I mean, if you were a person in the house while I was watching this in another room, it would almost be like, are you watching SpongeBob SquarePants out there? Because it sounds like the intro. That's what I felt when I was like, this could have, my neighbors probably think like, what in the world is going on next door? Dan Plagel's contributing something about a Nazi vampire genre boat movie.
Blood Vessel, yeah.
Lots of cool practical makeup effects stuff. That's how I know it's not A24, but figured I would share it since it's a good creature feature. It's hard to talk about these movies because you don't want to ruin it for someone who hasn't seen it. So there's things about The Lighthouse I want to talk about, but I don't want to spoil it. Speaking of Defoe, I'd watch Antichrist again before The Lighthouse.
No, I'm not rushing back to watch The Antichrist at any point in my life. That was an extreme film.
You got to be a glutton for punishment to endure that. I feel that way about Old Boy sometimes. When they were Old Boy, I'm like, I don't know, don't do that again. Like,
we are talking about the original Old Boy, not the Spike Lee one, which was just terrible. But
yeah, but that's what I was anticipating when I heard that they were, re-releasing, the remake. I don't know if I could watch that again. That's just rough. The lack of acknowledgement for Willem Dafoe and Toni Collette's performances showed there's still critical discrimination towards horror and the weird. Yeah, this is very true. This goes on to many platforms, even to social media. Instagram breaking horror hashtags to protect people. Like, I think horror will always be that underdog at award shows, just like heavy metal will be at music award shows. It's just not palatable for a mass population. I think it's just a very unique genre to promote. And if it does make it, it would be something diluted, like a TV series that's very PG.
Stranger Things.
Perfect example. I don't watch Stranger Things thinking I'm watching horror. I'm watching Stranger Things again, just watching some loosely sci-fi based kid show.
Yeah.
With a great synth track.
I think I'm watching like a homage to a bunch of movies I'd rather be watching.
Mm-hmm. That's what was my reaction for the first season. Again, I was that oddball in a wave of people thinking it was such a great show that was like reinventing the wheel. While I was like, no, they're playing off of people's nostalgia. If you grew up in the 80s, that's all they're doing is playing off the nostalgia of your childhood. You watch that show just to see, oh, the Goonies. Love the Goonies. Ghostbusters. Yeah, I'm about it. So do you take that out? Is the show still great?
E.T. Poltergeist is yeah.
It's all there. So it's just layered in a smart way to where you're like, you get a warm, fuzzy feeling when you're watching it. Like, this is great. This is a great show. But to me, take all that away, you might not have much of a foundation. The Lighthouses are equal to the Batman, isn't it?
Dad's having a little bit too much fun tonight, I think.
Yeah.
I'm getting darker and darker here. My Mad Monster t-shirt will soon be glowing in the dark because that is what it does.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't have any Mad Monster merch, check out the store.
Yes, absolutely.
Stock up. I think I have pretty much every shirt printed. I want to say pretty close to it. Gotta collect them all. Only watched the first season, had enough. Not about that Stranger Things hype. Maybe because I'm a kid of the 80s. You call them like you see them. We got a last minute join from Joe Volution.
Joevolution. Yeah, Joevolution. The Witch was the best. I've got to tell you, it was really hard for me not to pick The Witch because I did think that was an extraordinary film when I first saw it. And when I watched it again, it held up and it was even better. So, for me, it was really tough to pick my top one as Midsummer because The Witch was amazing.
Now that I'm thinking about it, are there any other witch movies that stand out to you in the horror genre? I remember watching Rob Zombie's Lords of Salem and thinking this has potential, and then I just went off the rails. That was just not at all what it could have.
Yeah, I mean, I love witches in horror films, or witches in movies in general. There was a crazy one. Oh my god, it's a Spanish film actually. Witching and Bitching, I think it's called. It's an insane movie. And that one, but Suspiria would be the other one. I mean, Suspiria is one of my most favorite movies.
Yeah, that's arguably still a top contender for a lot of hardcore horror fans.
The original, it's not a remake. It's not really a reboot. It's more of a retelling that came out 2 years ago now. I thought it was astonishing. I mean, I was blown away. It's the same director as Call Me by Your Name. Again, it's one of those movies that's layered and has repeat viewing watchability. But yeah, I think they did a podcast about this a few weeks ago, actually, didn't they? Sergeant Horror and Mark Richardson got all up involved with witches.
Yeah, sadly, sometimes I miss these and I have to go back and watch them, and that's one of them that I missed happening live. Because again, now that I'm thinking, I'm kind of racking my brain, are there any witch movies that really stand out as a good movie that kind of embody a believability factor?
Yeah, there aren't many with a believability factor, that's for sure. But the Witch is definitely high up there. It's in the top 5 without a doubt.
Original Suspiria. I'm waiting for someone to come in with Hocus Pocus.
The Wizard of Oz. I mean, the Witch in there's amazing. Margaret Hamilton.
This is true. Yeah. Original Suspiria. That one I think will top. Got Kevin joins the party finally.
Kevin? What's going on?
Fan of The Witch. That surprises me.
He's a classy guy. I know Kevin personally, and that man has got good taste. So he knows what he's talking about. And The Witches, Angelica Houston, absolutely, that's a childhood classic, and they are remaking that currently. Robert Zemeckis and
Oh,
Anne
really?
Hathaway. Anne Hathaway's played the Grand High Witch, so yeah, that's due for release, I think, next year.
Into the season of the witch now. I mean, we've been in this mode for a while. I was glad to see the zombie phase go. I was really worn out with the zombies. Walking Dead contributed to that heavily, and then the vampire boom. So I will welcome some more witch films.
Yeah, that A24 make some more witch films for us.
Like legit witch films. I feel like you can get really, really deep into it. Like,
Well, look, you got a title right there, Gina. Legit witch.
legit witch. Like,
I mean, you could build a whole film around that.
I mean, I'm not really strong in the folklore of witches in real life. You know, everybody's familiar with Salem witch trials, but I'm sure in other cultures and other countries they've had examples of witchcraft or practice of the dark arts, which kind of crosses over to like Satanism and Wiccan beliefs. But white magic, dark magic, I'll take anything as long as it's good and it makes me feel like it could happen in real life. That's why Texas Chainsaw Massacre always ranks really high with me in favorite horror movies, because I believe that something like that could happen in a very rural area of America, especially in the 70s. Like the thought of a family living like that just gives me the creeps, because that's a thing.
And that is why, in my opinion, Midsommar was the best A24 film. It's real. It could happen. It's got all those. There's no supernatural elements in Midsommar. It's completely kind of earthy. You know, it's
I think of something happening like that in that country where everybody thinks everybody's happy and nice, non-violent. It makes it even better. And when it came out and I watched it, I remember looking over at my friend going, "I wonder if this is going to hurt tourism for any Norwegian country at that. Like not even just for that particular country, but any country in the Norwegian area." And because I know I could be affected. I know it might make me think twice. I went to Sweden in the midst of when The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was being remade, the original trilogy that was made in Sweden. And I watched them right before going, thinking, "Oh, what am I going to? They have sex trafficking? This is scary. Like, I don't know if I want to go now." So I'm definitely affected by movies that can be applicable to real life.
The world is a scary place, and Christopher Lee, he came out of the army when I think he was 22 years old, 23 years old. He fought in the Second World War. He was part of a special unit, and he said that there is nothing that I can see in movies that would compare to the horrors I've seen in real life.
It's true, because movies can be predictable. Movies are safe. Like reality, I mean, I think that's why so much like art imitates life, because life is the best reference. I think that's why serial killers, those documentaries do so well, because
yeah,
really you're just following like a script basically that was written in real life.
Parallels between Midsommar and Texas Chainsaw are wild. Hunter, this is a whole separate life for sure. I mean, we need to go deep on this and discuss this some more. Midsommar and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So the fact that you just brought those two movies up together, my mind has just gone, absolutely.
You posted that picture in your stories. That made me go, I need to comb through this movie, and maybe we need to watch it frame by frame and just dissect it. The things that you might have missed, the subtleties, the relations, the references, any Easter eggs.
Even if you look at it from this point, so at the start of the film, the main character, her sister, commits suicide. That's not a spoiler. It happens at the start of the film. But if you look at it as through the viewpoint of the sister has actually been murdered by the cult in order to get her to go there and to go through the experiences that she goes through, it's a whole different movie. And not a lot of people look through that lens. And
if you've never seen it, you're watch it when you're wide awake at your most, mental focus. Grab a cup of coffee, because there's going to be a lot of things foreshadowing. There's a lot of foreshadowing when you rewatch this movie. And you're looking at the art on the walls. You're looking at you're watching what things that people are saying, all other characters, and the things that they're doing. It all foreshadows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and Dan, it's not the Wicker Man. It's not the Wicker Man.
Don't write it off so soon, thinking that, because it's deceiving.
Boy, oh boy, 1970s ABC movie with Secrets of Harvest Home, starring Betty Davis. I'll have to look that one up. Let me make a note of that.
There, and he remarks that it's a classic. Amanda says that's why she prefers slasher films. They're so outrageous and a departure from reality. I have to agree. If I want to be scared, I will watch something that's relatable, that's applicable to real life. But when I want to be entertained in horror, I love a great campy B horror movie from the 80s or the 90s. Demonic Toys, The Gate, House 2, House 3. Like, they're just so ridiculous and entertaining and fantasy-like that I'm not really scared. And I cut my teeth watching movies. 2 years old, my mom watched The Hitchhiker, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side. Every nightmare movie that came out, as they came out, I saw. There was no censorship. Like, I was just raised on horror. And I never was scared until I watched things that really hit me like this could happen in real life. Like, it's not outlandish. It's not unbelievable. It's not a far stretch at all.
I definitely want to be made to feel uncomfortable when I watch a movie, a horror movie. I want that lingering kind of dread that, a movie like Hereditary or Midsommar is going to give you, where it just gets under your skin and, stays there.
I get that, because there's nothing that replaces that feeling when you're watching something and it says based on actual events or, referenced from true events. And that just makes you think. It kind of hits you like, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You can't beat that. It's like watching the news. That's all you got to do now if you want to get that feeling. Watch the news. Watch Unsolved Mysteries. That just made a comeback. I haven't watched any of those episodes, but
I've seen a couple of them. They're pretty good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, A24 all week. Vote for your favorite A24 movies. Go to madmonster.com and get your friends, family involved. Anybody you think might be interested in this, make your voice heard. We're going to be hosting a bunch of lives across the course of this week and this month. So yeah, make sure you're participating. I think there's we're going to be offering shout outs, and there's some cool stuff happening, some cool guests that we're trying to get hold of. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting month.
This is the first time we're doing anything like this. So as we cultivate it and it grows, I think it will be a great thing to participate in. And you can say you were the first. You participated in the first event like this. Not an A24 fan, hold out for Blumhouse and throw your hate, throw the shade at A24. This is your chance to speak up and be heard, and maybe find some like-minded friends in the meantime. And again, if you haven't already subscribed to Mad Monster on YouTube, we are trying to streamline this process and make it a little bit easier for people to find us for these live events. Or if you missed the live events, they are archived here at Mad Monster, the channel on YouTube. So hit subscribe and don't forget to ring that bell, and that'll push your notifications up for any upcoming events. You got any last words of contribution here? Do we have any more comments?
I don't think so, other than, if you haven't seen any of the movies we've spoken about tonight, do your best to, there's a reason why we at Mad Monster are talking about these films, because we think they're worthy of being spoken about. So do your best to, try and catch them, and then, get involved, participate, let us know your thoughts. And I'm all up for having a debate. I want to be challenged as to why Midsommar is not the best of the movies.
And vice versa. Maybe someone can challenge me into liking The Witch. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come out of this, someone can convince me to change my mind. I'm not above that. I'll admit if I was wrong. I think you kind of got me halfway there. So I might be giving that a watch, another watch, a private screening, and seeing if it was a unfortunate theater environment situation.
I think it's worthy of your attention.
Yeah. All right. I think we touched upon everything. We're at an hour and 20 minutes. Comments have kind of quieted down, so this might be a good time to say goodnight.
Peace out, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah. Until next time. When's our next live show? Do you know?
I think we've got something coming up tomorrow. So yeah, just make sure you stay tuned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are still making those posts on Facebook as well. So if you click the remind me button, it should let you know. It give you the little cues when something is about to start. But until next time, watch some of these movies that you haven't watched. Watch some horror movies. Oh, we got one more. I missed it. Amanda saying this was fun. Yeah, I think this was a good one. I think we had great interaction. I have no complaints. I love when the viewers are very interactive. It makes the show a lot more interesting. So keep it up, and have a good night, Peter. It's good talking to you.
You too, Gina. Lovely to see you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.